So let's dive a little bit deeper into emotional eating and the mother wound. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about the mother wound and emotional eating. This is something that really is at the core of the work that I do with clients, helping them resolve their emotional eating. I think of all of the things we're doing as coming from not having this modeled by our mother, not having that mothering that maybe we see in the media. When I think about mothering and I think about society, there's this image of what a mother is. When I'm working with women and even my own experience, it's a very different experience what a mother is. And so there's this idealized version and then this other version. And in the past, when I would try to share my relationship with my mother and what was happening, a lot of the times I think people felt uncomfortable. And especially when I was in my healing journey, because no one wants to see their mother in this certain way or see these traits. It's really difficult. And when I'm working with clients and I hear about the way their mother was, it makes all the sense in the world they would have emotional eating as a coping mechanism. So let's dive into the mother wound and why it impacts our emotional eating. It's so interconnected. So if you think about when you're a baby, you're being fed and nursed, it's usually by your mother. You're in very close proximity. You have skin to skin. She's feeding you. It feels like love. This is love. You're getting food. There's this connection. And when we're very young, we need our parents or caregivers, our mother, to reflect back to us, to mirror back to us who we are. So if we smile, they smile back. They're mirroring back our emotions. They're validating us. They're seeing us. They're hearing us on this deep level. And this creates this trust. And as time goes on, and let's say we're not mirrored back what we're authentically feeling, we start thinking something is wrong with us. Something's bad or wrong about us. And this is because as a child, psychologically, we're in this trance and we need to be in this trance. We look at our parents as gods because if we didn't, we wouldn't be able to survive. We have to internalize that something's bad or wrong with us when our needs aren't met, because if we don't, our survival is at stake, and survival is so important. And so over time, if our needs aren't met, if our emotional needs aren't met, maybe we have physical needs met, we think something's bad or wrong with us, and we might be even criticized or dismissed about our emotions and how we are. And that further compounds us thinking something's wrong with us. And all of these uncomfortable emotions, all of this distress, well, when we have these emotions and this distress in a healthy upbringing, we're meant to be modeled how to move through our uncomfortable emotions, our distress, and get to resolution by our parents. And they're also supposed to hold a really calm nervous system when we are in distress so that they can help regulate us. We sync up our nervous system to theirs and we can move through our discomfort and learn that we can move through discomfort. And they help us get to a calm state where we can create resolution and have a new way to move forward. And so if our parents weren't modeling that to us, what happens is that all of these emotions, these feelings of rejection, they come up and they impact us because we're feeling pain and discomfort and we need to survive. So our brain is like, how do I feel okay? And food is tied to love, but food also physiologically makes us feel good and gives us a dopamine kick. So we go towards the food to calm ourselves. It's temporary. And so over time, you can see that this wasn't about the food. It was really about these deeper emotional needs that weren't met. And that is really what the mother wound is about. When you are not seen and heard, valued, validated, understood, attuned to by your parents or caregivers. As children, we need that. This is just a basic need. That is just how we are wired. And when we don't have that, it doesn't help us create healthy patterns moving forward. And so we have to cope. And this is a big reason why I don't like when people say, switch out one coping strategy, a bad one or unhealthy one, for a good coping strategy. I don't want you to cope. I want you to meet your true needs. There's a difference. And yes, there are instances where we might need to temporarily figure something out, but I always believe there's a way for us to move through, because if we're always coping with life, that means our nervous system is never fully safe or calm, and we don't know how to get there. And that's something I think we need to know how to do. And we need to know how to move through discomfort to get to the other side and create resolution, create a solution. And that might take time, but we can get there. That's the point of us being here. We're not meant to be agitated on an edge and dealing with stress with no end in sight for the rest of our lives. And so when we don't have those deeper needs met, we don't know how to meet them ourselves, and we go to coping mechanisms like emotional eating. And at first, they don't look like we're constantly binging on food. They develop. And what happens with emotional eating is that we then start going to the diets and the exercise because we're wanting to get those deeper emotional needs fulfilled of being seen and accepted. And so we think because we're using food to soothe ourselves, maybe we don't have the right body, so we control food to get the right body. Or we over exercise, or we're trying to contort and people please, and we're doing all these things to ourselves, all in an effort to get those deeper needs met, to be seen and heard and accepted. And if we need to twist into a pretzel to get it, well, we are going to do it, because at this level, we're not aware of it. We've been building who we are on this really shaky foundation of thinking something's wrong with us. So we're just searching constantly to be okay, to find the thing that's going to fix us, to make us feel like we're okay. And it should have been laid by our parents and caregivers. And that's not usually the case, because 95% of families are dysfunctional. The lucky 5, well, they're off. They're not here watching this video. But we're on this gradient of dysfunction. So we're not getting all of our needs met. And there was another stat I saw. We don't need to have our needs met 100% of the time, like 50% of the time, so we can build like trust and rapport with our parents and caregivers. When we're this young, when we're in this sort of trance and taking in that something's wrong or bad about us, we need a way to get out of it. And so the discomfort and the stress and comfortable emotions, we go towards food to just create that dopamine kick so we don't have to feel, we can kind of numb out. But food can't meet our deeper emotional needs. It temporarily fills that hole, that void that we're feeling. And so what we need to do is to start actually healing that wound. And so when I'm working with women in the Emotional Eating Evolution program, and the way it was created was because of my own experience with emotional eating and all of my unmet needs. My mother did not model how to do any of this. I didn't have modeling around how to nourish yourself or accept your body or how to move through your emotions. And so I had to learn how to do this because that's what I needed, and that's what we need as children, as humans, to have these deeper needs met. And so when I'm working with clients, that's essentially the viewpoint. I'm looking at it. How do we close that wound, heal that, so that on the other side, when you have a healthy upbringing, you come out as a confident, peaceful, easeful person, and you know how to ride the waves of life. You won't go to food. You'll be able to meet challenges head on. You'll have confidence in yourself. You'll feel good about yourself, and you won't be searching for who you are outside of you. You will know how to do that for yourself because you're modeled that, and then to attract people to help you with that. Obviously, life is about learning and growing. We're not perfect, but we have a healthy level of confidence and self-esteem that we can discern that and take things in and add things and change things without feeling like something's wrong with us. And so when I'm working with women, because emotional eating is this band-aid they've put on top of it, we have to work through it layer by layer in connecting back to food, their body, and their emotions to resolve this pattern. We have to meet those deeper emotional needs, but we also need to learn how to connect to food so we can see when we're emotionally eating and connect back to our body to see when we're triggered into our emotional eating. Because the shame we have around our body triggers our emotional eating. Even the way we eat and restrict, and if we're not eating the right way, can trigger our emotional eating. We need to see where we're triggered into this pattern because we don't feel good enough, and how we can start connecting back in an authentic way to food and our body, not externally, like from the diets and someone telling us how we should be, but what feels good in our body and what's working for our body by looking at the physiology of our body, by looking at, for instance, around food, discerning true from emotional hunger, learning to satisfy and nourish our body, noticing our digestion to know how foods feel in our body, and mitigating, factors that might impact it, optimizing our mood. Looking at our body, are we giving it what it needs physiologically, enough rest and sleep? Otherwise, we're going to be hungrier the next day because we're impacting our hormones. Are we shaming ourselves? Are we overworking at the gym? Looking at those patterns and then doing the deeper emotional work. Are we honoring our emotions, or are we dismissing them and saying something, maybe our parents did do the best they could and we are denying what we actually went through? We have to be aware that on one level, we have to honor our experience before we can get to our parents did the best they could. And without honoring our experience, it's holding us back from getting into the root of this pattern and resolving it so that we can healthily move through what we needed to move through. We can be that healthy container for ourselves, that resourced container to move through the discomfort that is at the root of this pattern, these unresolved events and these unresolved emotions in our body. We need to move through that by learning how to be that safe space and container and to allow ourselves to move through that and not take in and transform the message that something was bad or wrong with us for having them. And it's through this that we start resolving the emotional eating pattern. When I'm working with women in the emotional eating evolution program, it's specific to their emotional eating pattern. Whatever unresolved event is connected to that particular coping mechanism, but it unlocks other areas of their lives where they might be filling the void, that hole, that mother wound with other things like people pleasing, or maybe they're overspending. That can fall into this, but we're really focused on this relationship to food and their body. So how do you start sort of closing that wound and healing it so that you're meeting your true needs? The first step I always recommend to clients, and I have a free guide called What Are You Truly Hungry For, is to start learning to discern true from emotional hunger. This is going to give you an opening to start catching your triggers and seeing your pattern. And then, of course, if you want to dive in deeper, I'd love to invite you to find out more about my 12-week emotional eating evolution program. This is a step-by-step process with the coaching, the guidance, and the in-depth trauma-informed somatic tools to help you get to the root of the pattern so that you can start feeling at ease and confident around food and in your body and in your life. And so if you'd like to find out more about those, the links are below. If you have any questions about what I've shared today, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.